she says something about it having something in it. I'm not quite sure. Do you have something of your mother's in the car that you keep there? Oh, good. That's why she's saying it then, because she says, I see the car, see what you keep in there. And she also says to tell you that you, when you were born, I don't know if you were the first girl or the
twin.
Oh, then you came out first? That's why. So you have a twin sister?
Yes.
And you were the first one to come out.
Yeah.
That's why she's saying it. Anyway, she's telling me she can breathe again. She couldn't breathe at the end. And the fact is that really tortured you, that you could see her struggling like that. And she's saying, tell my daughter that it's paradise. The paradise of God is beautiful. And she's with parents of hers that she loves very, very much. And that you would be happy to know that they're all together. They're all together. And you've kept a box of pretty pieces of jewelry that belong to her that she's really glad that you've kept. And she keeps telling me, you're going to be all right, darling. You're a good girl, and you're going to be all right. And that she loves you all. Okay, sweetheart? Thank you, babe. You're so pretty. It's a pretty thing. Wow. Your mother-in-law has a sense of humor. Did she, or was she interested in tea leaves or tarot cards?
She drank a lot of tea.
Okay. I feel like that's what she's showing me. But she's teasing about it. Like it was like, I want to say she was addicted.
No, when she passed, we started cleaning out the closets. We found boxes and boxes of tea bags, Lipton tea.
Okay, then that's what it is. See, I have no idea what any of this means.
And we were laughing about it. Her granddaughters and I, we were hysterical.
Okay, that's what it is, honey. She has a sense of humor, and she's laughing as she tells me. And she said that it would be something that would identify her, so obviously it does, and that turns me on. Did you lose your daughter, love? Your daughter?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know how to put this in any other words except to say, I love you so much, my father. I love you so much, my beloved parents. But this was a daddy's girl. There's no question. She was a daddy's girl. And you took care of her every need, every time. Thank you, she's saying. Thank you. I remember. I remember. You're always asking, do you know how much I love you? Do you know how much I love you? Daddy loves you. She says, Daddy, I know, I know. And she keeps telling me to answer that question for you, because when you're alone, you ask her all the time. She tells me that you just recently moved some photographs around. She saw you moving some photographs. And she saw you standing there, and you were standing there lingering, looking at the pictures. It was of great joy to her, because she was speaking to you in your subconscious. The two of you are wonderful parents. Please remember that always. There was nothing more you could have done. They want you to know that. She also says that there's something about it looks like a cruise. Are you both going on a cruise, or are you doing something by the boats? Or?
Yeah, we have a family cruise every 5 years.
Okay.
And we didn't want to go this year because of her, and she wants us to go.
Oh, my God. No, she wants you to go. Please. She knows that. She mentions the cruise. It's very important that I tell you to go. She wants you to know that she's with you. And she's very proud of her friends and her family, all of you. Please says to tell her mother, Mom, there's pieces of jewelry you kept of hers that she knows that you treasure. I feel like when she shows this to me, it's either in your pocketbook or you have something here with you that you brought, and she says it's in there. Tell my mother I know. I saw her put it in there. Do you know what she's talking about?
I have her jewelry and something, her cat.
In your pocketbook.
Yeah.
Now, very good. Please tell you no, she knows you put it in there. And you said, if this woman tells me this is in here, I'll believe it. If she doesn't tell me, I won't believe her. So, Mom, I'm supposed to tell you, don't believe me, believe your daughter, because that's more important.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir, I assure you. All right, there's somebody trying to tell me something here about a boy that committed suicide. Who is it? Oh, God, they want me not to let you leave. Somebody's telling me something about somebody. They think they committed suicide. It was an accident, and that, or they tell me they're sorry about it. It's real strong, and I'm standing over here. Do you know who it is?
My father took his life.
Your father took his own life? It's very possible it's him, honey. I'm sorry. That's why I'm standing right here, and they're trying to apologize.
Is he in heaven?
Oh, yes, he is, darling. Don't worry, sweetheart. That's what it is. He knows you're worried about this. But I know that it's very important that I tell you that he is in the light of God and completely at peace. And that is that. I know you have. That's why he doesn't want you to leave here without me telling you. Okay, sweetheart? So don't worry, Boogie. Okay, all right. All right, baby. You're going to be all right, sweetheart. It's going to be all right. He's really in heaven. Don't worry about a thing. All right?
So one Saturday evening, we were in the place. It was the very first time. Very beautiful place. The medium was a lady. She had a gorgeous new home in Montreal. And there were about 20 invited guests there. I was one of them. And she communicated with the spirits for there's different people there. And they were telling them what the spirit said. And then there was one lady that had been talking almost continually before the seance started, and she didn't believe in the dead appearing and all of this and all that. And she said, well, I would have to see my dead sister. She says to believe it. So while this seance was going, one man said, I would like to talk to my friend that died 6 months ago, but I don't want him to appear. Just want to talk to him, because he says, I don't trust you talking to my friend for me. So the medium says, let me inquire of the spirit. Yeah, the spirit will talk with you. And that big masculine voice was heard in the place. It says, hi, Frank. It's nice of you to ask for me to talk with you. And they had a little chat. And after it was over, Frank says, this is the greatest thing on earth, to be able to talk with the spirits of the dead. Then the medium said, we have a very special surprise tonight for you people. A spirit will manifest itself openly here in a few minutes. And it's like a big gust of wind hit the building. And right through the wall. Now, the lights weren't terribly bright, but they were like living room lights. A couple of floor lamps, and maybe some of these. And that translucent being seemed to come right out of the wall.
How did you feel right at that moment?
It's almost like my heart stopped a little bit. Very weird feeling. So it was a lady in a beautiful evening gown, floor length. And she said to Mary, my dear sister, you are so wonderful to have asked for me. And Mary fainted and fell right off her chair on the floor. And a couple of guys jumped up and picked her up, and spirit gone. And that was the beginning of it.
That's how you got into it.
Yeah, that's the way I got into it.
Her voice would change, and it would be just like your Uncle Bob, who's been dead 10 years, and you would go, oh, that's my Uncle Bob, and he would speak, give you a message, that kind of thing. To be honest, that scared me. I only went to a few of those, but my mother certainly went to more, because she was developing towards becoming a medium. She was going to all the development classes, and she was coming on leaps and bounds. But what started to happen was she could no longer control the spirit guides. They were now choosing when to come through her. She could be, I was with her a few times at the shops, walking along the street, and the spirits would come through her, take control when she didn't want to, and take over. Really, they did it to such an extent where her life was not her own anymore. At this point, she wanted out, because there was so many spirit voices. They all wanted to give messages to the neighbours, to passers-by, she just, it was getting to the point where she didn't know her own thoughts anymore, because they were always talking through her. So she tried to get help. My mother had psychic experiences really since she was a child, and through her teens and adult life, but she tended to ignore it. She wasn't too interested then. Obviously she met my dad, and they had me, so it wasn't till in later years she decided to pursue it and develop it further. Really, when I was about a pre-teen, I also had psychic experiences as a child too, and was very interested in it as well. Cousins that were involved in spiritualism. In fact, an uncle was a head of a spiritualist church in Ayrshire. It was a normal childhood most of the time. Really, my dad wasn't interested at all in it, so my mother and I didn't really go into it too deeply. Eventually they divorced, and really then I suppose she just plunged into it in a deeper way. But certainly as a child, there were several psychic experiences, dreams, that kind of a thing that my mother and I had. So throughout my childhood there were a few, but it didn't develop until later childhood. there weren't too many scary things happening yet. That wasn't till much later as a child. It was more, you know, I was fascinated with the supernatural. I loved ghost stories, watching supernatural programs on the TV, ESP, these kind of things. It wasn't till later on that the frightening stuff began to happen. By that point, we were both really well and truly involved. As a pre-teen, my mother had already joined a spiritualist church, and I joined it too, and we went every week, a couple of times a week. So by then, we were already involved in psychic development classes, mediumship training, seances, that kind of thing. We were already involved in seeking mediums for messages from dead relatives, and really developing in it. We were interested in astral projection, astrology, meditation, yoga. You know, we were becoming deeply involved. So when the odd frightening thing happened, I guess we thought, well, it's just a hazard of the job. You're dealing with spirits, you're bound to get a few negative spirits. We didn't really question too deeply straight away. We had communication with spirit guides. Spirit guides tended to be, the way it would be described would be perhaps an Indian chief or some spirit that had just evolved high up in the spirit world, that had come, had chosen us and had come to be our guide, give us advice, develop our psychic abilities, really be with us all of the time. They would also help channel apparent dead relatives. That's what they explained it to us, whether it was our great-gran, our sister, great-uncle, whoever, channel them through and communicate with them. But yeah, sometimes it would be the spirit guides giving her the information, other times it would be the relatives themselves. I was more encouraged to take up the psychic art, which was, I didn't get too involved in it, though I started it and became quite frightening, so I didn't pursue it. But that was where I was encouraged to let a spirit guide take over my hand, draw the psychic art, draw the picture, the portrait of the spirit guide, or even dead relatives. So of course, if I was to give that portrait to a relative, they would think, oh yeah, that's my dead granny, that just looks like her, and it would make them think that the grandmother had come through to them. As I say, I started doing that, and I started doing Kirlian photography, which is photographing spirits with infrared film. But ectoplasm would start to form, and really I got quite afraid of that, and I just didn't want to pursue it. I thought I would go back to it in a few years, but I didn't want to pursue it any further. My mother was much more involved than I was. I was a pre-teen, so I was more involved in going out with friends and that kind of thing, but she delved right into it. She would allow spirit guides to take over her hand, and she would write screeds and screeds and pages of so-called sacred writings. A good friend at the time, she was a Catholic girl, and she told me the Bible said you shouldn't do that. And I asked her, well, why? But she didn't really know why. She just said you shouldn't do it. But the spiritualists just assumed, well, Christians are kind of narrow-minded. The Bible, you know, they didn't really believe in it. And some Christian spiritualists even said, well, they sometimes spoke to Jesus, that he was just a psychic, he was just a medium, and they sometimes channeled through Jesus, and you know, it was all kind of mixed up. So at that point, I thought the spirit guides were truly who they claimed to be, and the dead relatives were truly who they claimed to be. As I say, if a poltergeist activity did occur, spiritualists would explain that in the sense of, well, sometimes you do get a mischievous spirit that manages to get through and that kind of thing.
Hi guys, happy Halloween. We're going to try this again. Didn't work out too well last time. I'm a bit like this. If you didn't see what happened last time, I'll annotate the fire up there somewhere.